A couple of years back, I introduced you to the concept of, yeah, me too, as it pertains to car manufacturers. It went something like this. Car manufacturer A would start bragging, hey, I got a mid-sized sedan with an all-wheel drive system. Car manufacturer B invariably would say, yeah, me too. Well, apparently no one is buying mid-sized sedans anymore, and this concept now applies to crossover. Well, recently, this whole new frontier of, yeah, me too, is turbochargers. Kind of like ball bearings. Anyway, Lexus, they've come out with an entirely new carrying case for their second best-selling SUV, crossover, whatever you want to call it. And of course, when it comes to turbochargers, yeah, me too. Being you and I have already driven the 2022 Lexus NX with the plug, I feel high time we drive one that is not electrified. And being there is a choice of two, let's go for the one with a turbocharger. And that would be the 2.4, 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. As a basis of comparison, that's 72 more horsepower than the most basic NX350. But more importantly, that's almost double the torque. And even more important than that, not a CVT like the plug-in. Instead, there is a real geared transmission. Arigato gozaimasu. This one is an 8-speed torque converter automatic. Now, unlike the plug-in, there is a drive shaft that connects the front of the car, meaning the engine, to the rear wheels. Put another way, they are all-wheel drive. There is no two-wheel drive version with the turbocharger. Just kind of another basis of comparison, the only NX that is on offer is two-wheel drive, meaning front-wheel drive is the NX350. Then there's the fuel economy. Here, huge disclaimer, the US EPA at the time of this filming hasn't tested these vehicles, so these are manufacturer's estimates. So let's just go with the combined figure, and that's 25 on the one with the 2.4 turbo. Then towing. Once again, like the plug-in, this is not a Ford pickup with a diesel engine, 2,000 pounds of towing. But performance figures, this is something unusual considering the type of vehicle that this is. Again, the NX350, the front-wheel drive with an automatic transmission, 8.6 seconds to 60. The heaviest one we already drove, that was quick, 6 seconds to 60. This one, kind of like the Goldilocks, 6.8 seconds to 60. As with our 2022 Lexus NX450H plug-in episode, we are back again in Cave Creek, Arizona. Actually, I never left. I stayed here because I am a proud Arizona State Sun Devil. With that, 4,035 pounds, or depending on how you express your weights and measures, 1,830 kilograms. That is over 400 pounds lighter. That's 450 pounds lighter than the plug-in hybrid version of this vehicle. With that, same challenge, up a hill. Oh, there's a bit of a delay there. But much different delivery of power because there are 8 gears here. But there is a bit of a cliff here. One needs to hit about 3,500 RPM to really get this thing to deliver some power. As you and I push it a bit harder, I'd say it's driving dynamics, but really the difference is somewhere between driving dynamics and ride quality. And the thing that jumps out is the weight differential. Even at 4,000 pounds, 450 pounds extra, that's a huge differential. And that's what makes this one feel a bit more lively. There's not as much pitch as there was in the plug-in, because when you have that weight, it's not just the extra weight, it's where it sits in the vehicle, and it sits kind of high in the vehicle. Which brings us to kind of a recap here. It's McPherson struts up front, double wishbones in the back, but in the F-Sport, it adds a couple of things. Yeah, there's the adjustable dampers, which can be adjusted here, but there's also, they call it a lateral damper, but really it's not a damper. I'd call it more of a stabilizer bar, and it goes effectively the width of the vehicle. And as you will see here, it does a moderate job of controlling most of the planes of motion. Basically, squat and dive is pretty good. It's pitch that has the issue. So really what they focused here is ride quality. So net, what does that mean? Well, if you were to put this on a driving dynamic spectrum with a Porsche Macan up here, a CX-5 here, and say a Hyundai Tucson down here, this is closer to the CX-5, but not quite as sharp. When it goes into an F-Sport model, that's when it goes a little bit beyond the CX-5, but only in the gas. In the plug-in hybrid, it goes below, matter of fact, closer to the Tucson because of the extra weight, it just gets in the way. Yes, it is indeed that time again to play your favorite game, mine, the options game. Wait a minute, it's actually not that time because we don't have the pricing, at least all the pricing for the vehicle that we are driving today. So let's take a stab in the dark with the pricing that we do have. The 2022 Lexus NX350, put another way, the 2.4 turbo with the all-wheel drive, base price of $41,550. Now, as a basis of comparison, there is the bargain basement NX250. That's front-wheel drive, no turbocharger, has a much lower base price, $37,950. But on the other end of the spectrum, the plug-in we have already driven, much more expensive, $55,560. Now, the car we are driving is in a stunning color. It's the NX in Ultrasonic Mica Blue 2.0. To give you an idea behind the scenes, this is such a popular color that people on this event, they absconded with this vehicle, the one we are featuring today, and we're gone all day. We had to wait till the end of the day to get this color so you could see it. So I'm guessing Lexus, they're gonna charge extra for this color.
MotoMan was showing off in front of an LC500, but we all know that he's a cheapskate, and I can tell you right now from experience that he would be a little upset about one big thing with this vehicle. Well, to get the F-Sport, you have to add over $5,000. That is a lot of money for suspension and paint and nice-looking wheels. Now take it from me, $5,000 is gonna buy you a fine-looking Buhanka.
But the price I do have, considering an F-Sport, $47,625. So in the last Lexus NX episode, I promised you a bit more of a deep dive on the new UX system. And really what's going on here, they've made a huge switch for the entire Toyota Lexus universe from something that really didn't work that well to something that is more contextually based. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it really doesn't have a home screen. Instead, there is a menu that is off to the side, think like Porsche Taycan, where there's 5 different, I guess, areas, applications one can go into. There's obviously settings, there's the car, there's the telephone, there's media, and then of course there's the map, if I can get that without crashing the car in beautiful Cave Creek, Arizona. And this is in a 14-inch screen, which for the avoidance of doubt, this is optional in all of the systems we've seen thus far, in the NX as well as in the Tundra. But screen size aside, what's important to you and I is how this interacts. It is a much more simple system to work with. It's a combination of using your finger or using your voice or using properly sized hard controllers, meaning there are knobs for the HVAC system as well as for the audio system, even for the adjustment of the drive mode in every version I've driven thus far. Now, as you guys are fully aware, I am a huge proponent of having hard buttons, dials, toggle switches, because it promotes safety, better driving. But this system is a combination of having those hard controllers as well as relying somewhat on voice. Now, I personally do not believe voice is 100% there. Think of instances where it has to go out to the internet to be able to translate some of your actions. This is built into the vehicle. Like, for example, I can ask it to put on the windshield wipers. Hey, Lexus,
what do you want to do?
switch on the windshield wipers.
Turning on windshield wipers.
I got to admit, that is a pretty cool party trick. Another cool party trick, hey Lexus,
What do you want to do?
fold the rear seat.
This feature is not available.
Okay, so it didn't work, and the reason why it didn't work is this car doesn't have the electric fold-down rear seats. The point is, this voice system works a bit better than most, but I'm still not convinced enough to rely on it 100%, and that's why I am incredibly grateful to Suga-san and the team for keeping the hard controllers. However, not everything is puppy dogs and roses. Look at the steering wheel. It's an entirely new steering wheel. And if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, you're going to see this steering wheel on many other Lexus. Remember how you and I used to bitch and moan about a trackpad over here? Well, it's sort of like a haptic feedback trackpad in terms of the steering wheel controllers. So it's a 5-way controller on both sides. For the avoidance of doubt, they are hard buttons, but they're smart buttons. So the minute I rest my thumb on either one, I can see in the head-up display what the function is. So this is kind of what we were joking around with Nathan about in the plug-in episode, complicating things or needlessly complicating things. Let's just keep this hard buttons. We don't need this to be something that interacts with the head-up display, which is a cool party trick, but it's adding an additional step which takes away from your focus on the road, which I would argue takes away from the overall safety. Now, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, they probably made this change as a Lexus-only thing to differentiate this new UX system, which is identical over here, but different over here from the Toyota level up to the Lexus level. In order to sum up today's experience, I need to roll this up into the larger NX universe and compare it against the NX we've already driven, the plug-in. That one, aside from being god-awful expensive, was a surprise. It was downright quick, but the suspension and the brakes didn't support that extra propulsion system. This one, completely the opposite. The engine, the transmission, the brakes, and particularly the size of the vehicle, it's like one cohesive unit, one package that works together a lot better than in the plug-in. And I'm not just saying that because it's significantly cheaper, which brings us to the wish list. And here, the only thing I'm gonna say is about the F-Sport. Now I get you don't wanna make the dampers stiffer because it's a Lexus, okay. But being that it's sorta sporty and it's gonna live in places like Phoenix, where we drove today, or California, or Florida, and there is no two-wheel drive option, how about sending more of the torque, at least a setting to send more of the torque to the rear wheels, especially considering that this is a mechanical all-wheel drive system? That would be wunderbar. And this is the point of the episode where I turn this around to you guys to opine in the comments below, or via our social media, MotoManTV all in word, MotoManTV all in word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, I would once again humbly request your help with the algorithm. What does that mean? Yes, subscribe, notifications, but also clicking like and absolutely sharing these episodes with all your friends on your socials. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später.